I want to mention two things that we failed to mention last night. As Mo reminded me after the shir, we mentioned it afterwards, and every other opportunity that we had in the last 24 hours, is that today was the Yechezkel of Meir Shapiro. It was Zayin Cheshvan, and as many pointed out, the first toises in yesterday's daf, meaning today's daf, brings Zayin Cheshvan. It brings it regarding something else, but it says Zayin Cheshvan over there in daf daf. So everybody's very excited. It's the daf Lun in Zayin Cheshvan. The other toises mentioning Zayin Cheshvan, and it was the Yechezkel of Meir Shapiro.
Why say Hartman today?
Oh,
that will not happen again, probably.
Says the Gemara. Says the Gemara. We're holding now in Daf Memvav Mudalif in the Zevachim, starting with the second line. The Gemara says Chutz Min Adam, that you have noiser, you have tummy, even something doesn't have pigul except for blood. We know that. So it says, I'm going to give it to you. It's going to be yours, which means what? What we're going to say over here. So so just to explain, because Ulo is not really here. We're talking about something else. As Rashi points out, let's see Losha Rashi. Omar Ulo Omar Koz. Look Rashi. How do Ulo love Alchitvar? It's not here. It's talking about Me'ilo. What's Me'ilo? Me'ilo, the idea is you're not allowed to use something that belongs to Hekdesh. The Ketani ain't more Alim B'Dovim. In other words, you need three different things, and we're going to see the Maskana of the Gemara is that one of them is to take away two more from blood. So we have different psukim speaking about blood, and one of them is coming to tell me what we need for our Mishnah. There's no idea of there's no din of noiser tumah by blood. So the Gemara says, it's yours. So you don't have me'ilo. Give it to kapara, not to be me'ilo. It's like a mute. You treat it before kapara like after. The same way after kapara there's no me'ilo. Why there's no me'ilo? Because after kapara is after kapara you have there's no me'ilo. That's a rule with me'ilo. Me'ilo, you don't have me'ilo after there was a mitzvah, after already was done. No me'ilo. So after kapara there's no me'ilo usually. So before me'ilo, here it says who to tell me leave the kapara is like kapara. I'm equating before and after.
We're talking about dam or the whole
blood. Talking about blood. Because the pasuk says, "Kinefesh abasor bedam." He, really, it's he, not who. We spell it who, but if we say he, so it's a he and who. I don't know actually what we're talking about, but it says who. We're talking about. So it's likei kapara kalach kapara. So he says, "Amo." So one second. So we're equating before and after, and we're saying the same way after there's no kapara, there's no me'ilo, meaning it's yours. There's no me'ilo. Also, if no, before the kapara, there's no me'ilo. So there's never me'ilo. So who said you want to say that way? Maybe you're equating before after the before. Who told you to say that everything is equal to after? Maybe everything is equal to before. Meaning the meal is always there, constant. Even after the kapara was done. Even after the process was done. Says the Gemara, there's no such thing. Once the mitzvah was done, there's no more me'ilo. Because me'ilo means that belongs to Hekdesh. Once you did, like a simple way to understand it, once you performed whatever you're supposed to perform, it's done. So now Hekdesh, so to speak, utilized this item, and from here on, there's no me'ilo anymore.
Why is it korban Hekdesh? Korban Chatas, Hekdesh?
Of course it's Hekdesh. So it's Hekdesh. Once you do the mitzvah, which means you throw the blood in the mizbeach, there's no meal anymore. You're done. Once I put the imur in the mizbeach, there's no meal anymore. Says for meila. For meila. Oh, so right now at this stage of the Gemara, good point that Binyamin points out, is that going back, we right now brought three different psukim for meila. Why do you need three? So So we're in the middle of the sukkah. Three different parts of the pasuk. Three different drushes of the pasuk. We're not going to need all three. We need only one of them. So the Gemara is going to say in the moment we do the other two, and that's what connects to our sukkah. But the Gemara now is focusing on the third drusha. I'm equating before and after. After there's no meila, before there's no meila. So who said? Maybe I'm equating after to before. There is meila before, there's meila after. So one says no such thing after having meila. Truma sedeshin. Truma sedeshin is you take the coal out of the mizbeach and you put it next to the mizbeach on the floor. And then what happens is because nivlo b'mekayim is being swallowed in its place. Even after you did that process, there's still meila. Still meila with truma sedeshin.
Until it gets absorbed.
Until it gets absorbed, it's not there anymore, right? Also, bad no. Now I click. I put it there. I can use it. Get. So he says.
You can't use it, but you are doing meila with it, or you can.
No, that means it usually goes together. Usually, if you have there's no yisur no, if you have yisur no, you have yisur meila. Usually goes together. So he says no, you can't limit truma sedeshin. You should have a truma sedeshin. Be the guno shtei ksuvi aboy kechot. Chok ksuvi aboy kechot in milat. Tell you why. Truma sedeshin and meila were both two psukim that teach you that they have this idea that meila happens if you have to do the mitzvah. Truma sedeshin we just mentioned, and the other one is big dikiuno. The big dikiuno, even after you use them and you don't use them anymore, you're not allowed to enjoy them. Where is that? So there's a mandom, as the Gemara points out right away. That by Yom Kippurim, the Kohen Gadol uses the begadim, and after he finishes using the begadim, he cannot use them anymore, and you're not allowed to enjoy them anymore. So there's no usage. So you did the mitzvah already, but you also can't enjoy them. So it says the meaning you can't enjoy them. They have to be according to the gniza. You have to get rid of them. There's no enjoyment even though there's no mitzvah. So he says, you know that the four gadim that the Kohen Gadol wears in Yom Kippurim is connected to the four gadim in the Kohen Hedyot. The same one, at least according to one shita. The question will be regarding the belt. But if it's the same one, it says you could use it for Kohen Hedyot. It's not nasa mitzvah, it still has usage. Well, actually, when it says the Sol Misham, not to tell you never use it, but to tell me never use it for a Kohen Gadol. Kohen Hedyot could. So, Michael, maybe I don't find a pasuk that says Shedova Shenasas Mitzvasoi Mo'elim Boy, because that's in Dova Shenasas Mitzvasoi. So, we should have the Truma Sedesha Vegla Arufo Shtek Suvim B'Kechot. No, you're right. The two Suvim B'Kechot is Truma Sedesha, and we mentioned that once you do the mitzvah, you still have Mehila. And the other one is what? Egla Arufa. Egla Arufa, what is Egla Arufa? Fire mace next to the city. So we get Egla Arufa. After you do the Shechita Egla Arufa, you're still not allowed to enjoy it. I am done. You have a din that it's still us. So that's the two psukim. The two psukim are Truma Sedeshin and Egla Arufa. Says Mohani Chlabando Ma'im Elamdim.
That's a meila then? I understand there's no hana, but is that meila really? So not hektish.
Right. We treat it like hektish. Right. It always brings the drasha on the bottom. It says a kapara kekachim. That's a drasha from the Gemara with the Zohar. There's some. I remember the whole has a kachim thing. You see that our Gemara treats it. For me, like that, like we consider it to be like me. Does they have all of the meal? I don't know.
It accomplishes a kapara for the people.
Yeah. So there's this one that holds, even though you have shtik suvi kechad, they still teach. So why don't have? Let's learn from there. So the Gemara three miyut iksivi. There's two miyut. Hakaktiv ha arufa. It says eglo ha arufa. Tell me only the arufa, not something else. V'asuktiv v'samoy. So v'samoy v'samoy. It and not something else. So it's a miyut to tell you only eglo arufa and not other things. Only big tikkuno, not other things. And already the question. The Toys already asked this question. One mute should be enough. If I have two psukim, you say, yes, but if one of them says only this, so that should be out. But I have to have a mute in each one. That's what Toys asks, it brings a question. But the might say you see over here that so the Gemara says, so that's why you wanted to tell me that maybe after you did the mitzvah, you'll still be chayav for the blood. Because we don't have such a thing. What do you mean we don't have such a thing? We have the Tshuva Sadashen. It's shtiksu yabayim ke'echad. Tshuva Sadashen. One beginning wanted to say b'di kiuna. One said Tshuva Sadashen egla rufu. And if you want to say that you do learn from two psukim, I have a miyut to tell you not to learn from there. So that's why we always, if I have to know if there's meila or not, I'm saying there is no meila because I'm equating the before to after.
Does the other mandamar need to do? Why would he need the miyut and one that says?
Good question. In the morning we were so with that. I don't know. What does he do with this? He dash it, doesn't dash it, something like Dorish. Yes, Dorish. Good question. Says the Gemara, "V'tloto koi bedam lamali." Why need 3 psukim? Why need 3? Right, lebutu meilo. Sorry. Why need 3? I need 3 different psukim. Says the Gemara, "Lemiuto mimiilo minoisar umitumo." I'm coming to Mayit for 3 different things. Because the computer went off. So the says we're coming to Mayit for 3 different things, and that's the reason that we need 3 different psukim. Because we were talking about 3 different items that we're coming to Mayit. What is the 3 different things? The 3 different things that we have are Me'ila, Noiser, Tumah. Noiser and Tumah is both in our Mishnah. That's our Mishnah. It says our Mishnah that we don't have Noiser and Tumah by Dam. And the third one is Me'ila. So they have 3 different psukim to tell you 3 different miyutim that I don't know about by blood. So that's how you have the psukim. Says the Gemara, Pigul, lo tzorcha. I don't need for Pigul. Why? Because you already learned the rule. The rule is that not kol sheyesh lo matir bin lo adam bin lo mizbeach chavim lo mishipigul. Anything that has a matir is matir it has pigul, but not something which it is in itself is a matir. The dam gufei matir. The dam is matir itself. So that's why I know the blood doesn't have pigul. What about the other things? Here I have to have suki to tell you that it's different. It doesn't have the other items the korbanos, or the yisur the korbanos have. Okay. So it says the Gemara, this next Gemara is not so much to get to our sugya, but because we mentioned 3 psukim by dam, so the Gemara says, by the way, you have another thing, we have 3 psukim. Why do I need 3 times it says krisus by shlomim? Rashi did mention it earlier. The Gemara learned from one pasuk to another that it's you have a karis by shlomim by the tumah of the person and not a tumah of the meat. So Gemara says, how do you know? So you learn one pasuk with another pasuk. One speaks about 2 pasukov, the other one speaks 2 pasukov as well. So said Rashi, that's why I need 2 pasukim. So Rashi, we need to have 3 pasukim as the Gemara is going to tell us over here, and we need all 3 as the Gemara is going to say. So let's see. Says the Gemara with involved one base. Achas leklal ve'achas leprat. Klal prat over here, as Rashi says, and Tosis emphasizes it a little bit more, is not the klal prat we use for klal prat to klal. It's for davar sheyo b'chlal v'yotzo min klal. We have one of the midas you turn Yeshiva behem is if I have a rule that puts everything together, and then I go and take one out from that rule, and I give specifics about that teaches me for all the other ones, for the entire rule. Davar sheyo b'chlal v'yotzo min klal. Lo yelamed atzlo yotza, elamed klal kula yotza. It's not teaching on his own, teaching everybody else. So here you have the klal is the kochim, and the prat is the shlamim. To tell you have a shlamim out of a klal, to teach you all the klal. So to tell you that it's not only the shlamim, all karbonos you have krisus. That's you have 2. V'hakas, I mean, the way it sounds, that's where the doichek is over here, is that one pasuk tells you have krisus by shlamim, and one pasuk tells you have krisus by shlamim, but it's part of a klal. They tell you that it belongs to the klal. Like you're doing it from different angles. So he says, and the third one is to tell you that you have krisus by tumo, even for something which is not edible. As we saw, the Mishnah told us regarding eitzim, wood. Put wood in the mizbeach. Someone goes and eats the eitz, takes a bite from the wood. Is it chayav? So Rabbanan hold yes, and Rabbi Shimon holds not. Why? Rabbanan hold yes? You have an extra chorus. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Shimon According to Yeshiva in our Mishnah that says you don't have tumah, you don't have something which is not nechal. Lasui mai, lasui chatois saprim is going to talk about the chatois that are done inside. Sakadai techaminu u'il v'om abshimin kol she'einu al mizbeach achitzoim keshlomim en chayavim ala mishul pigul mishul tumah. Anyone who's not done in the outside mizbeach, there's no pigul, so there's no pigul. Sorry, mishul tumah not below the chayas, so maybe no tumah as well. Kamash balan. So Shimon l'shitosei. Shimon says, I cannot use the pasuk for Einam Nechalim. Why? Because Shimon himself holds that Purim and Yisrafim doesn't have it in the pigul. So I'm using the pasuk for Tumah. The Purim and Yisrafim, and after that, Rabbanan hold, you do a pigul, so why should I think the Purim and Yisrafim is different? Okay. Says the Gemara, Noimi Reb Shimon. In our Mishnah, we don't have this word Noemi. They had it. Rashi quotes in the Mishnah. Noemi means said. Shimon said, Mechayev et shedar kolecha. Shimon was Mechayev, the one, the only thing that's edible, not something that's not edible. Says the Gemara, Itmar, Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Shlokish, Rabbi Lozer, Rabbi Yisrael, Rabbi Chanino, Chad me'ay zuzo, v'chad me'ay zuzo, or Chad me'ay zugo, v'chad me'ay zugo. One for that pair, one for that pair. Chado machloikes betumas bosor. Aber tumas aguf divrei korel einu loikin. The whole machloikes is betumas bosor, which means if the wood or the levoina are tummy. So there, Rabbanan would say you're chayav for eating something tummy. Yeshiva says you're not chayav. The chad omar machloikes bezuka machloikes bezuka. The same machloikes you have by tumah of the meat or tumah of the person. My time, what's the reason? When you learn for the pasuk, it says so Rashi brings over here that Babasar coming to adding 8 civil levain, even though the Learn Sher Nechalim is it's tumas aguf. Okay, so he says it says over there the basar talking about the basar itself, and it says the tumasar olav. The next pasuk. So one pasuk speaks about tumas basar. I mean the food, the wood is tummy. The other one speaks about the person who's tummy. So you're saying it goes together. So one of them says no. Tafka by basar I have in addition to 8 civil. But by Domnat, the other one says we compare the two.
What's my time of going on? My time is what does it answer?
What will be the reason that Mandoma the holds Bachlik Zuka Bachlik Bezu? Like you're saying the Tumas Aguf is like Tumas Abbas.
As opposed to saying that Divrei Akol Eino, because the first thought said everybody agrees by Tumas Aguf.
Because the pasuk that speaks about it is only pasuk regarding Tumas Basar. The more I'm going to bother a little bit. I want to remember just to mention already mentioning is that where is the word bringing this? Because it says Rashi brings because it says how Basar leRabus Eitzim Levayna. But didn't we just bring another pasuk that we learned from the extra pasuk of Shlamim? That's coming to add Tuma Davash Sheinu Nechel. Why have two psukim over here?
That was a pasuk by Croesus.
Right.
Maybe this is a pasuk
from Malchus. So you have one pasuk Croesus, one pasuk Malchus. So maybe.
I mean,
so he says.
If you need several psukim, I don't know.
No, I'm saying it could be.
I don't know.
No, okay. Says the Gemara. That's why Tevumi quoted this discussion. Quoted a little differently. In the Sefer, when it says that Yeshiva comes to argue, that's where Yeshiva is arguing and says that there's no din by wood. Meaning the wood itself is tameh because you have a pasuk. In other words, everybody agrees the pasuk is talking about the basar. The shaila is, do you include also the person? Malchus is in both. Meaning they're arguing in both. My time meaning everybody agrees the pasuk does not teach me more than the basar. We don't come and say, oh, the next pasuk talks about the Adam himself. So if the Adam is, so the Adam, when the Adam told me, you also have the issue. No. Everybody agrees, all you live in the pasuk is the tumah on the meat, on the item. Shaila is, can be only the pasuk. Because one number says, no. Once you tell me the Adam doesn't have tumah, so the pasuk doesn't have tumah either. It says, it says clearly, there's 8 civil avodah. It says, well, the psul ba'al manat, there's malchus. There's because pasuk. Rashi says, in Milo de Rabbanani, cross machta be'alma. You don't get malchus. So it's two gears. Either the gear says everybody agrees basur you get malchus. Everybody agrees there's a machlekes by basur. The shar lazy have a machlekes by adam. And according to the second gear, everybody agrees there's no machlekes by adam. The shar lazy is a machlekes by basur. No, sorry. Right, is a machlekes baguf for sure? There's a machlekes. The shayla is a machlekes babasa as well. Is a machlekes babasa as well? Only machlekes baguf. And the first case is the opposite. Is the machlekes by basar? Do you have machlekes baguf or not? To the other direction. See. So look the Mishnah. Start now the next Mishnah. This we quoted this in our base and with this. L'shem shisha dvorim azevach nizbach. There's 6 things they have kavana in when you do a zevach. What is it? L'shem zevach. What does L'shem zevach come to tell you? You have to do it l'shma. You can't do shira kodesh. L'shem zeveach. What does that come to tell you? Come to tell you have to have the right owner. L'shem Hashem. It has to be l'shem Hashem. Rashi in the base says l'shem Hashem reach nechoyach. So the Bach there says it means l'shem Hashem not l'reach nechoyach. L'shem Hashem in order to get l'reach nechoyach. You have to do it l'shem Hashem. Because Baruch said to do it. L'shem Ishim, you have to put it on the fire. And we'll see in the Gemara what it's coming to tell me. L'shem Reach to make a smell. L'shem Nichoyach, that's the Chesruach l'fanash Neser Tzayni. So we have 2 parts over here. And this, we discussed a little bit in our base. The idea is L'shem Hashem, L'shem Nichoyach, is Hashem, you do it L'shem HaKadosh Baruch Hu, not any other koiches. Now Chesruach l'fanash Shabbat Neser Tzayni. So I have the actual avodah, and I have the result of the avodah. And that's, by the way, it comes out really from a discussion that the Yudu with the Ber Maim Chaim. That's really the idea of L'shem Yichud. L'shem Yichud is Yachid Yud Kei Vav Kei. So Yud Kei Vav Kei, Yud Kei is Hashem, the roots of Hashem, and Vav Kei is how it's implemented down in the world. So that's the 2 things. Chatos v'osham L'shem Chet. Chatos you have to have in mind to do L'shem Chet, to be Mechaber on the Chet. You don't have kavanah. As we saw in the basement base, Stamol Ishma. Shoot. Hi, Bezdin. Not Bezdin, not to have machshava. Shem machshava elakes elachar. Even the last sentence to tell you, the only one who can ruin it is the kohen, not the owner. The owner has a bad machshava. According to the Mishnah, it doesn't do anything. See in the Gemara, Ashita the argues. Say, well, maybe don't have oilo. We dash in the pasuk. Oilo l'shem oilo. Nafuk l'shem shloim deloy. That means to do it for the right carbon. Isher l'shem ishim. That's the 4th thing that we have in our Mishnah. What is that? Lafuki kevavo deloy, which means not to, when he has in mind to make a roast, make it like a roast to do it on a coal. It has to be in the fire. Reach, L'shem reach, has to make a good smell. La'afuke yevorim shetzlon ve'helum deloy. Can't be something that you did roast it and then put it on his back, because then it loses all the smell. The Omar Yudom Rav, yevorim shetzlon ve'helum ein be'em shum reach. There's no smell there once you already roasted it. Nichoyach, L'shem nechas ruach. You do nechas ruach, La'ashem l'mishem mish Omar v'oyo oilo. See the 2 things. Nechas ruach. 2 Rashi says Rach as well. If you Bochu Shalom and Aser Tzayinoi, Shemi Shalom V'Ayil. This is a kavanah as the Kubbanim point out. You have to have kavanah to Kadosh Baruch Hu. Don't have other cheshbon. It has to be kavanah for a Kadosh Baruch Hu. Okay. What?
Isn't it Sareach Hashem Hashem is not the same?
The reach means it should make a good smell.
Make sure we're not.
That's what reach means. Very good. We'll stop over here. And Be'ez Hashem, we'll take it from here tomorrow.
You did it, Harry. Isn't Shetzal on the same thing as Vava? Isn't that on the both roasted?
I think kavava means doing with coal, and it's coal. You put it
It's supposed to be
on fire. And slaw means you put it on fire. You do it before you put it in his bag. No.